Welcome to FKC Health. I'm Frederick Krasey, and today I have with me Vicky Jamieson, beauty therapist. And Vicky is not just your ordinary beauty therapist, she's a wellness coach. And inside of being the wellness coach, does what's called biohacking. And she is also into being an anti-aging specialist. So Vicky, please tell me about your business and why you got started.
Thanks, Fred, for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. What led me originally to work with women, mainly busy women over 40, was the interaction between how our skin broke down, so like the sagging, the lines, and stress, and not having that time to kind of relax and take more time of self-care. So back in the 90s, when I trained as a beauty therapist, I realized that there was a big gap between, having a facial and walking the talk kind of thing. So it's not just about putting great skincare products on, it's also the wellness journey. So how our gut health and hormones interact with stress levels and how that can impact how we feel. So having that interaction led me through my own journeys as well with hormones and gut issues to help women now have a better experience and a more even flow through the journey.
That sounds cool, yeah. Beauty therapy, it's a very interesting topic because it's directly tied into self-esteem, self-worth, self-love, all those attributes. And, without taking good care of yourself holistically, no matter what you put on your face for skincare or makeup or otherwise, if you're not well inside, it's going to come out and show on your exterior in the way you carry yourself through life. Tell me, what makes it different from other beauty salons out there, what you do as a beauty therapist? What makes you different?
Well, I think exactly what you touched on there, Fred, was that the windows are, that invitation to our soul, and actually it's then replicated back onto our skin. So how we feel is exactly our glowing attributes in our skin function kind of thing, and then that reflects into how confident we feel. So I guess my point of difference is having that knowledge and working originally as an aromatherapist, applying a lot of Chinese modalities, connecting with that whole mind-body connection, which is very popular at the moment. And it really has been over the years, but it's just more popular now, or more well-known now. So integrating that whole process of how we feel, what's happening physically, emotionally, and then mentally, what we're thinking about too can impact our physical self, and that can come out in our skin. So really creating so I work a lot more with the nervous system. So using techniques to always keep our nervous system balanced, because that's our body's way of keeping things on track. And if that's on track, then a lot of other things flow through. So that can be a bit of an impetus between that body, mind, soul connection, and then fully developing those, as your own journey kind of thing. But that's where my reading, if you like, into it. So I do face mapping with all my facials. So that's how I manage where the nervous system's at, and just use the body to give me signs. And then I teach my clients and women how to do that for themselves at home, because I think there's nothing more empowering to women as to know their own body, what are their triggers, and then what are their self-help strategies, or how do they put their own oxygen mask on first, because we know we should do that, but a lot of people aren't doing it. So it's just knowing what works for you, knowing your own body, knowing your own feelings, and then just having a strategy that works, and then creating a ritual so that you have got it in place. It's in your daily routine and you don't need to think about it like brushing your teeth.
Well, that's cool. I know several years ago, one of the World Health Organizations said that by the 2018 or 2020, that anxiety and depression would be the biggest epidemic in the world. And I know with women that they're pushed pretty hard in Western society to keep up. They've got to run the home. They've got to look and feel good and present well at work, whereas the tradie can just rock out of bed with his shorts and boots on and cement all over them and get to work, whereas women don't have that luxury. And then they've got to take care of the family. They're multitasking big time. And I see in the corporate world a lot of stressed out women, and that concerns me because their health is highly impacted. Little plug for a product that you sent me. Oops, there it goes. Disappeared into the screen.
Moving into the background.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yes.
I took my second one today. I'm bouncing off the walls. So
great.
I think that your point of difference, I have referred someone to you and they've explained to me that it's a holism. There's a lot of processes. Not everyone will adopt all of them, but certainly it's expanding their health and beauty awareness and giving them a wider bandwidth. What are your main philosophies over the last 20 years in the industry, and do they still apply today, or has everything changed?
I think actually a lot of them still apply a lot. So my three philosophies, one for skincare is plant-based, mainly because when you're feeding your skin, we don't think of it like it's an organ of our body, but it is. So we have little cells. So we've got to feed them just like we would put food in our mouth. So having a plant-based skincare brand is actually important so that your skin can actually use it as food. So that's my first philosophy, and I don't think that's changed probably in the last 20 or 30 years. It's got better. There's a lot more variety available, so that's great. But one thing to watch with that is marketing. So I get on my little bandwagon because things are classified or marketed as natural, and they're not, regulations say that you only need 5% of natural or plant-based ingredients for it to be called natural. So I'm just always aware to go, okay, without getting all nitty-gritty and looking at ingredients, use that as your core structure, because without that, your skin can't actually transfer it to energy and make new, beautiful skin cells. So that's my first one. The second one is anti-aging. So in the beginning, when you're young, and I'm talking teenagers, you need just to keep your skin balanced because it's gone from a normal to hormones hit and it becomes a little bit reactive. So you just need something to balance it. Past 20, we actually have aging processes that happen inside that impact all organs. So having something in our skincare range that either stimulates new cell growth, new skin cells, or repairs or works on the functioning, so hydrating, nourishing, protecting, all the jobs that your skin's got to do. It needs to have that, and it needs to get into the lower levels. So it can't sit on top. It needs to penetrate. So there's new trends that come and go. So that does change over those years. So peptides and ceramides and AHAs and all of those kind of change because science, like you mentioned, is discovering new ways that we can be better. We can make our body amazing.
Yeah, stem cells, epidemic
stem cells, yeah, injectables, all the jazz, you name it. We're probably going to discover a whole lot of different stuff coming up in the next 10, 20 years. But that's really important if you want to change and improve and keep on top of skin health. And then the third thing is non-toxic. So when I started in the industry sort of 30 years ago, non-toxic skincare ranges were really hard to find. Luckily, now we are getting cleaner and cleaner products. And the reason why that's really important is from an internal health perspective as much as from on the surface, creating lines and sagging on our skin, which we don't want as we get older. So internally, it has more of a disruptive pattern, and especially with hormones and stress and disrupting our nervous system. So a lot of our systems in our body, which then relate to disorders and illnesses and diseases that, might not, kill us or eventually, but it impacts our quality of life. So it's really important, if we want to feel good, that we look after what's going on our skin, because it takes 26 seconds for things chemically to go into our bloodstream. So those are my 3 philosophies on when I am looking at something to improve and work on anti-aging from the outside. And then my 3 main philosophies, which have always stayed the same, is mind, body, soul philosophy. So everything's connected. So our physical body, our mental, what we think, and then our spiritual side, or our connection to ourselves. So how we live our true desires and purpose and heart. So that impacts how we feel, which then comes out as a glow. So that hasn't changed.
It's
probably a little bit more popular nowadays, but...
Well, I have studied extensively NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and behavioral modeling. And one of the presuppositions is that the mind and the body are connected in a cybernetic loop. And I put it simply, where attention goes, energy flows, and where energy flows, things grow. And where you look, you go, and what you put yourself into. So it's amazing. Like, I thought, well, Vicky, she's out there touching women's lives, and people say, well, why has this man contacted this woman for this interview? Because skincare was something that I thought, I don't need skincare. Well, about 5 years ago, I started to have some real issues with my skin. And it came down to diet and hydration, and it came down to certain deficiencies in minerals. But eventually I started to deal with some topical stuff to deal with flaky skin and rashes and all sorts of things. And lo and behold, it actually did impact my overall well-being. So I'm, as a male, quite a strong advocate for good topical skincare for male. Because what comes with poor skin is it's a reflection of what's going on inside. So since I've embarked on the incredible health journey I have, aside from losing weight, I've transferred most of that to muscle now, so I'm not much different in weight, but my body composition is very different. And what I find is that you have to really approach the body holistically. And the more I'm talking to health professionals now, you've got your sleep, you've got your diet, exercise, you've got your hydration, and you've got all these things with those different areas that you have to look at. Nutrition, sleep, you have to look at behaviors, patterns, so many different things. And when you talk about toxicity, it can come from more areas than are first apparent. And what I see in the mature age population is a lot of stress and a lot of hormonal stuff for women. And I think, as I was saying to someone today in a different interview, it's the decisions you make around 20 to 30 that really are going to depict what's going on at 50 to 60 to 70 and so on. So how's COVID affected your business, and where to from here with that? What's happening in that department for you?
Well, COVID's actually affected my business quite a bit because of my treatments in salon. So I do work online, but also in person at a practice. So it's been great. I've had almost an 80-20 into that. So 80% has been traditionally in salon treatments with facials and massage, and 20% online. It's now flipped. Well, obviously it's flipped because I can't do any. So it's not even 80%. I can't do any in-salon treatments at the moment because I've been closed since March, and looking at reopening hopefully end of November. for facial treatments. So that's been a big impact. It has, though, on the positive, allowed me time to upskill and rebrand and work on actually, you mentioned menopause and hormonal changes, a menopause program that I'm just releasing. So, and the idea is behind it is wellness rituals, so you can identify if you're having a hormonal change or if it's something else, because there's lots of things that impact us from a wellness and health perspective. What symptoms, because there seems to be 6 main different types of symptoms that affect people in different ways. And then what strategies or wellness can play into that to give you the best outcome. So that, I mean, menopause is going to happen to most women, whether that's prematurely, so a lot of people are having early onset menopause for a variety of reasons, or whether that's at a normal time. But to make that less of a roller coaster, which it seems to be more nowadays for people, and I think the biggest impact from that, what I experience, is from stress. What you mentioned with busy corporate women and busy executives, because there's been a high stress or high cortisol level for a lot of their working life or career, and the juggling that happens with, you know, kids, social life, everything that goes in between, as well as having a career, it sends levels at a much higher rate that affect that gut-brain barrier, which then impact hormones. And so it's finding ways, so whether that's nutrients, vitamins and minerals that you mentioned, biohacking now, which is the new thing in nutrigenomics, which is impacting our genes, and putting everything into place, hydration, how to drink your 2 litres of water a day without it being like I have to get that done. You know, using technology where we can, use an app, just mark it down, just create a checklist, work with the way that your brain works.
Checklist, good.
So that you're actually going to get it done, and it takes less thought, less energy, less processing. So because we want things to be simple, we want things to be quick, but we want things to work so that we can feel good.
Yeah, so, I created a spreadsheet with everything that I ate, all the supplements I was taking, how many times I drank water. I monitored everything for about 2 to 3 weeks, and it was a big revelation to me what was going on and what wasn't going on. And with that checklist and with all those things, and with the hydration, I've got good Zazen water and things like that. But what I'm finding is you won't stick to a routine unless you start off small and ingrain the habits over a period of time. Whereas if you go gung-ho, you're going to crash, and it's all going to be too much on top of what you do. And what I'm finding beautifully is when I do establish new habits, I'm actually substituting, so it's not more, it's the same. So I say, if I'm going to institute this habit, what can I take out that I'm doing that I don't need anymore, so that I'm not in overwhelm? Because I really get that in the latter years, it's so hard for people to just find their peace and their balance. They feel like they're being pushed from behind, you know, like, I've got to do this, I've got to get the kids ready for school, I've got to do that, and the husband's coming home in 5 minutes, blah, 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 and it's just endless. And I think that a wellness and beauty regime is very balanced, and it's very rounded, and it's very natural. One of the things I've started to do, I've shocked myself. I went to a podiatrist recently and got some really cool orthotics, and I got recommended some runners that I didn't think were too groovy. They were a bit wide and whatever. Oh my God, revolutionized my life. I'm now running, something I swore I'd never do in my life, and because of my knees and such, because I do have knee challenges. Today I did 13 sprints, 50-meter sprints over about 9 kilometers, and I'm not impacted. I'm not feeling any issues. Nothing happened on the run. And this is probably about the 4th or 5th day I've tried that. Now, I had a nice look at your website and went through that, is the oxygen therapy. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I think I would be remiss not to give you that opportunity to talk about oxygen therapy. What's happening there?
So oxygen therapy is a specialized type of anti-aging facial that you have. It's actually designed by a Melbourne company here, and they used it originally for burns victims. So it's healing the skin when you have skin grafts from a burn. So anyway, they use different serums, so they're vitamin and antioxidant based, and aloe vera. And so we use it, and what happens is it gently pushes, the pressure of the oxygen pushes the serum or the goodies, the food, into your skin, but it goes into your collagen layer. So normally when you have a facial, this is the difference. You put your product on, your skincare, and it feels great and it's nurturing, and you massage it in, and it, you leave and it's glowing. You have a glowing skin. But it only gets down to what we call the epidermis, that top layer that we can see. Your collagen layer is your mattress of your skin. So normally injectables are the only thing that will get down to that layer. Everything else is fed from the inside, and this is why nutrition and hydration are such a key thing, and why stress, to keep those levels down, is also important, because stress breaks down our connective tissue or our collagen. So your oxygen facial, use the pressure of the oxygen, hyperbaric oxygen, goes down to the collagen level, and it's basically feeding your connective tissue. So all your elastin and collagen re-knit together and stay nice and happy and strong, which helps prevent the sag.
Got it.
So it's just a beautiful treatment. It's really relaxing. And then I also use pressure points. So I do my face mapping. We talk a little bit about nervous system, things that are going on, and ways to improve that at home. And then it's just a rebalancing process that happens. So I love it. Clients love it because they get the results, as well as time to chill and really get nurtured. So it's great.
So tell me, Vicky, if women are looking for some simple solutions to do at home to help them with self-care right now, given the mental health and stress that is increasing, what are your top 3 solutions?
Well, keep in mind that your top 3 aging things that can happen to you are sun. So make sure your moisturizer has an SPF in it, especially now coming into summer. Australia and New Zealand have the highest rate of skin cancers. So if you want to get your vitamin D conversion, take a tablet or use the rest of your skin. Don't use your face. So I would say use your SPF. The second stress anti-aging thing is pollution and environmental damage. So this is where your nighttime skin routine is really key. So making sure you're cleansing, toning to recorrect the pH level so you're not getting dry, using an anti-aging cream or a firming serum, and then a lotion. Also because that sets your brain and gets it triggered to go, right, I'm creating smells and a routine with touch that I can now trigger feel-good hormones coming out, and also that triggers some of your brain chemicals that work on sleep. So you're actually creating 3 things in once. One, you're getting rid of pollution, which is that second aging factor. The second is you're getting neurotransmitters to work for de-stressing, working on your liver health, and working on sleep, which are all beneficial to stress. So we can all impact that. And then lastly, I would say make sure, so the third factor is stress. So apart from doing that nighttime ritual that will help with that, is to do some deep breathing or meditation and incorporate that into the day. So I find right at this time with COVID, if you're stuck, say if you're in Melbourne and you've been in lockdown like me since March, taking time out of the day, whether it's to walk around the block and put something relaxing in your ears, or just sit and breathe. If you need to use an app just to take your mind out of that frantic hurry and just to calm down and recenter, then that actually works on getting cortisol levels down inflammation levels down, getting sleep hormones to adjust so that your biorhythms are intact. So it has a lot of other chemical triggers that are happening in your body. Plus it releases endorphins and helps your gut health. So if you're suffering from bloating, or a lot of women, or actually a lot of people at the moment have put on weight, and it's not necessarily from eating lots of things that aren't good for us, although that might be sliding in there, but some of it's because we're stressed. Our cortisol levels are higher. So it actually makes our inflammation responses much more over-exaggerated, because our body's thinking, oh, it's got to cope. But there's nothing to cope with. It's all mental. So the only way to balance that is to actually center, balance, calm. And while that can be hard if you're busy, if you don't do it, it will impact so many other things later on. So it's worth even putting a little reminder in your phone to go every 2 or 3 hours, take 5 minutes. And it sounds so easy, but what's easy to do is also easy not to do. And it just takes 5 minutes.
One of my favorites is to know and not to do is not to know.
Yes.
And I thought it was interesting when you said before about vitamin D. A lot of people are unaware that vitamin D of its own volition, because you can buy vitamin D capsules to somehow offset the fact that you're not getting the sunlight. But there is another vitamin called K2. And I recommend to my clients that if they're going to take vitamin D, make sure it has a K2 element, because the K2 element drives the calcium into the bones, whereas the vitamin D on its own drives it into the bloodstream, which is not good, and it's calcification of joints. So you need to be wise around that and get a health professional to steer you with supplements, because I'm a big advocate for supplementations, but I'm also a stronger advocate for wisdom and scientific knowledge around that supplementation, especially if you don't need the supplementation and you're taking it because they're on the shelf at the supermarket. So you need an awareness. So in addition to all the things that you're sharing, which I find fascinating, is the actual awareness, the self-awareness, the holistic awareness, the integration awareness of all these different modalities to take care of your skin and your health and your well-being. I'm a big advocate of meditation, but I'm not baying at the moon to Buddha or Jesus or the one at the top of the pack. I basically have a ritual. I did transcendental meditation in the city, and I started that process, and they want you to do it for 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon. But I realized if I'm driving my own bus, I have to find something that works for me. I do find at the beginning of the day that if I have 20 minutes to myself in stillness, breathing, and just letting my mind go where it will, and the TM process is great because it gives you a distraction from your own thinking, which is a mantra. And I find now that I hardly use the mantra, because once or twice and it's gone, and then I'm in that place. And what I find is with the meditation, it helps me prioritize what's important in my life instead of a to-do list and getting things done. And I think that there's just so much in this, what you've said today, Vicky, and I think that men can get something from this as much as women, to realize, hold on, slow down, get still, look at what's going on in your life. And I do an assessment of what is or isn't working from a health perspective. And then I seek out information. And I've got to be honest, I've found as much from looking at videos on women's health as I have for men's health, because it's holism, it's holistic. And I think if you have loved ones that you care about, you can be supportive in their health regime. So the male can actually not be critical of a woman putting on makeup, realizing that she has to face into the world and she has to be caring about her skin, because there can be, until you experience, you don't know it, but when there's skin discomfort, there's inner discomfort, and then you're not orientated towards performing your life the best way you can. So what I would like to say is, What is the best way for people to look you up and get in contact with you, Vicky? How can people who feel that you've struck a chord with them get in touch with you?
So I have my website, which if you're wanting to check out my online programs or the oxygen facials, you can have a look visually at what that is and see if that seems like you. And I have a connect page or contact page there. So that's betterbody.net.au. Facebook, I am always really active. My business page is Better Body Beauty Sanctuary, all one word, as Facebook does. And I'm very responsive on Messenger there. So reach out to me, say hi, say that you've seen the thing. I'm also on LinkedIn. So if you're a wellness enthusiast and I've struck a chord, or you want to know more about programs as well, or corporate stuff that I do. So that's a good area. So that's under Vicky Jamison, Better Body, so dash in between. So, and I'm also on Instagram. That's my lifestyle kind of how I connect. It's sort of, I'm a triathlete as well, so I do a lot of, you'll see a lot of my events and stuff when that's happening, not this year, but previous years. So Better Body One, that is.
That's fantastic, Vicky. Look, I would like to really thank you for offering your time and your wisdom out there. And I just encourage people to look you up. I'm going to include some of your links in the notes when we post this video on our FKC Health YouTube channel. I ask people that if they find that there's value with these interviews, please subscribe to the channel. And in the meantime, we'll keep on keeping on, Vicky, and thank you for coming.
Thanks, Fred. It's been a great honour to be on your show. So thank you very much. And hope the listeners have got lots out of it.
Me too. Thank you.
Thank you.